The existence of aliens has always been a hot topic among scientists, with a lot of questions behind whether they exist, and if so, how advanced would they actually be. But one question has remained puzzling. If aliens did exist, what would happen if they visited Earth? Would they be a peace-loving race of planetary beings, or would they be an intergalactic race of world colonizers? And if so, are we even remotely equipped enough to defend ourselves? So join us in today's video as we discuss what would happen if aliens were to visit Earth tomorrow. The possibility of alien existence has been marred by controversy for decades. But before we even go into the possibility of aliens visiting Earth, we need to take a look at the possibility of their existence in the first place. As we know, the Earth is unique with just the right conditions to support life and has seen millions of species flourish for millions of years. But over the last 50 years, scientists have been studying the stars, and we found that Earth is not so unique, as our galaxy is filled with thousands of possible life-sustaining planets similar to Earth. But one question remains unanswered. Why haven't we seen any signs of alien life since we've been studying the stars? This question is known as the Fermi paradox, which basically states that if aliens did exist, in our galaxy at least, we should have seen signs of them by now. And if they did exist, they may not be technologically or biologically advanced enough to be capable of interplanetary travel, much like us. This is evident in our efforts to colonize Mars and the Moon. Even with our somewhat limited space travel capabilities, we still strive to lay claim to planets in our solar system. As such, any extraterrestrial civilization capable of spaceflight would probably be intent on colonizing any planets they could, and could very well colonize an entire galaxy in a few million years. This time frame may seem like a long period, but in the grand scheme of the universe, it's quite short. This brings us back to the real question of today's video. What would happen if one of these alien civilizations visited Earth tomorrow? Well, in this scenario, one thing is certain. We've been studying roughly 100 light years in all directions in detail, and we can say to a certain degree of certainty that there aren't any alien civilizations in this region of the galaxy. So for any alien civilization to make it to Earth, they must have traveled from well beyond this region, and that speaks to an incredibly advanced degree of space travel technology. They would probably have spaceships that could travel at the speed of light. As such, these aliens at our doorstep will undoubtedly be more technologically advanced than we are, meaning we would be at their mercy in the event of any misunderstandings. So what would be the procedures of communicating with these extraterrestrial visitors now in orbit around our planet? Well, they would probably first be detected by the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI Institute, which compromises multiple ongoing searches for transmissions or techno-signatures from other civilizations. The SETI Institute would then inform the various world leaders, mainly the US, Russia and China. This is mainly to reassure each country that they are not under attack from the other countries, and so a world war doesn't break out from misinformation while alien ships hover in orbit above the planet. The information would then reach the Secretary General of the UN, and the public would be made abreast of the new visitors in orbit. The second and most important thing would be to try and establish communication with the aliens, which might prove a bit challenging. Assuming these extraterrestrial visitors have been studying us for years in preparation for their visit, they could have devised a means of communicating with us in our own language. But this is all assuming they came in peace and there is a need to actually talk. But then again, if they simply stumbled on our big blue planet on their travels, then communication might be much more difficult. We could be trying to decode messages from them, while they could be trying to do the same. Again, this is all assuming they are a peace-loving race of aliens, which would be preferred, but is quite frankly unlikely. The intelligence gap between our species could be simply so great that to them we are nothing more than a primitive race of primates, still scrambling for resources and fighting for borders. This is evident when we take a look at the intelligence gap between humans and our closest relatives, the primates. Primates like orangutans share 99% of their DNA with humans, which means 1% is the difference between their intelligence, which has granted us global domination and left primates less evolved and relatively unintelligent. So imagine if these aliens are similar to humans but are, say, 5% more evolved than we are. Going by our 1% difference from the primates, This could mean they would be drastically more evolved than we are, and even their most basic concepts would be inconceivable to our relatively primitive minds. According to scientists from the SETI Institute, they believe that any form of extraterrestrial life capable of intergalactic travel would be so evolved that they may no longer be carbon-based beings as we are. This is because regardless of their advances in technology, they would still obey the laws of physics, which state that it would take thousands of years to travel, even to our closest star, Proxima Centauri. As such, these life forms will have either transcended biological constraints to become energy-based life forms that are unaffected by the thousands of years required for such a journey, or they would have somehow cracked the code on traveling at light speed, which would bring the intragalactic journey to just a few years, and maybe even months. So imagine trying to communicate through sounds and images to a species that has evolved to use, say, radio waves and sonic transmission to communicate. Not only do we not possess the technology to decode these transmissions, but we would also simply be unable to understand them. We've stated that worrying about how to communicate with these aliens would be dependent on whether they are a peace-loving race or not. Well, what if they're not? This is the most likely scenario if an alien species were to make its way to Earth from across the galaxy. This is because every species has an innate ability and drive to dominate and colonize. This is simply nature, where survival of the fittest, or in this case, the most advanced, will be the deciding factor on which species survives. We've seen this play over countless times in history, from Alexander the Great to Columbus to Napoleon, and many more. In each case, the most advanced people have always subdued and colonized the less advanced. And if aliens were to reach Earth, we would definitely be the less advanced species. For one, a species that is capable of space travel would probably have some serious artillery when it comes to weapons. We're talking more advanced weapons than the projectile weapons we have, and some Star Wars level death rays are not out of the question. For such an uber-intelligent species with advanced weaponry, our nukes would be our greatest defense. That's if we stopped scrambling over which country gets to lead and how to use them in our defense. So one thing's for certain, we are nowhere ready to receive any alien visitors if they do exist. We also don't know if they know about us and are simply biding their time to reveal themselves. Interestingly, we have had a visitor from outside our solar system, and so far, it's the only extrasolar object we've encountered. The unusual object, named Oumuamua, which is Hawaiian for scout, was detected entering our solar system at speeds 4 times faster than any asteroid or comet. The object didn't reflect sunlight and had an unusual increase in speed as it passed the sun, much as an object with solar panels would. Scientists have suggested that Oumuamua could be of alien origin, as it could very well be a probe of some kind, sent to scout our region of the galaxy. Of course, there is no solid evidence to support this theory, considering it took Oumuamua roughly 10,000 years to canvass through our solar system. We haven't been transmitting signals for that long to attract an alien probe to our planet. In essence, we might consider ourselves an advanced civilization, but in the grand scheme of the universe, we might just be as primitive as primates are to us. So, do we really think we should continue transmitting signals into unknown regions of space, hoping to be found by some distant civilization? Or should we actually be quiet, so as not to be found by an undoubtedly more advanced species that will most likely want to colonize our pretty blue planet? Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.